What's up, everybody? Welcome into a new edition of Rifkin Reacts here on the Sports Insanity Network. I am Mike Rifkin. It's late. I know. We're live here 20 to 11 on the East Coast. And we are doing a stream on the Mets here. And listen, I'm not going to. Actually, maybe I will look at comments as we go along as I watch it on my phone. Look, the Mets lose 10-5 to the Chicago Cubs. Get swept in a doubleheader, lose 3 games. The first 3 games of the series, they've now dropped 5 in a row again on the season. And the words, there are very few words I could use right now to describe my emotions towards this team. They're unwatchable. They're unwatchable. They are, and we'll continue to watch, but they are unwatchable. They are, right now, they're unlikable. They are absolutely unlikable. There's nothing to like about this baseball team. Um, unless you want to talk about the development of the young players, which I want to talk about that in a few minutes. But guys are playing out of position. Starting pitchers don't go deep into games. They made 6 bleeping errors tonight. Everyone on the infield had a freaking error. And that would be the time to do something. And I'm not talking about making a trade because the trade's not going to fix anything. It's time for a new voice. And whether that's the manager, whether that's the general manager, I could care less at this point. Something has to give. They just, it's not even stuck in the mud anymore. This is just absolute, this is just absolute garbage. And this was something that wasn't supposed to happen under the Steve Cohen watch. This was something that was not supposed to happen this season. And there's one person to blame. And he'll deflect it and he'll continue to be smug about it. But the only person here who is at fault for the reason why the Mets are what they are is David Stearns. And to quote the great Wizard of Oz, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Or I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. You're not in Milwaukee anymore, David. And you have this great checkbook of Steve Cohen. And tonight there was the great chant. There was the Pete Alonso chant tonight. And we'll dive into Pete for sure. I got questions for David Stearns. I've got questions for Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen watching this? Is Steve Cohen watching this team? Does Steve Cohen know he's got the 3rd worst record in the National League? Only the Giants and Rockies are worse. Steve Cohen know that? Does Steve Cohen know that we're going into the summer months and Citi Field's going to be a ghost town because this team is pathetic? Does he know that? I don't know. I don't know if Steve knows that. I want to know what was the plan, David Stearns. I want to know. How did you find your way into convincing Steve Cohen that this team could get it done? Because you took last year and then missing the playoffs last season, and you said, perfect timing. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this nucleus. I'm going to change everything about this team. But you changed too much at once. Now, I'm not going to get on you on for Jeff McNeil. I don't care what Jeff McNeil does for the A's. I really don't. And that's not a knock on Jeff McNeil. That's just more so, listen, it is what it is. Nemo for Simeon, I was with you. I was with you. Brandon Nemo's defense had plummeted. The offensive game was still there. Marcus Simeon has not had a good year. And that's putting it mild. Bo Bichette's starting to come around with the bat. I still don't like him at third base. Now, maybe you could kick him over to second, just bench Simeon. And you play Brett Beatty at his actual position instead of sticking him in right field, which is just total stupidity. And I don't even get mad at Brett Beatty for it. It's on his position. David Stearns tried to change everything at once. Then let's talk about the pitching staff. Let's dive into it. Kodai Senga going to get moved to the bullpen. All it took was for him to have an ERA of 10, and now you want to move him to the bullpen. Sean Manaea had a couple of really good starts before he got. I don't even want to say he got hammered tonight because he really didn't. He just had so many pitches early in the game that's just. How about the regression of David Peterson? Dave Peterson, let's be honest, since the first half of 25, he's been terrible. I'm not going to get on Nolan McLean, although today, given the circumstances, Nolan McLean was given a 3-0 lead. You can't give it right back. And by the way, Mendoza, if you could see he's tiring, you take him out of the damn game. I don't care if you get a doubleheader. But Nolan McLean has adjusted as the teams have adjusted to him. I'm not really going to get mad at this guy. Christian Scott, I've seen positive things. Jonah Tong's got to work on some things at AAA. That's why he's still there. And then there's 5-inning Freddie, who had this brutal start in Philadelphia over the weekend. And we're talking about his trade value and what could they get and potential and this and that. And maybe the New York spotlight's too much for Freddie Peralta. Hand up, I was excited about Freddie Peralta. Hell, I was excited about Marcus Simeon. Hasn't worked. Doesn't go deep into games. He's had maybe one or two really good starts. Outside of that, he's been meh. Kind of like this whole freaking team. This team 2 years ago was 2 wins away from going to the World Series. 2 years ago, they were 2 wins from the World Series. Now they have the third worst record in the National League. And I got every insider who wants to wave the pom-poms because the Mets are terrible on Twitter. Because you know deep down they're excited. Because they love it when the Mets are bad. John Heyman, that Yankee lover John Heyman, he's excited when the Mets are bad. Same thing about Joel Sherman. They're excited. There's nothing good about this team. There's nothing to sink your teeth into except for the kids maturing. Carson Bench has actually played really well. He's hit homers. He plays a really good right field. He's got a good arm. AJ Ewing is fun to watch in center field. And by the way, he's putting up great at bats left and right. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes, but they're kids and you live with those mistakes. Was I happy about the Luis Robert trade? You bet I was because I thought there was untapped potential in Luis Robert, but then the injury bug was going to hit, and it got worse than I thought it would, and it just sucks that he can't play. Now let's get to the issue at hand. First base. Last season was occupied by a guy named Pete Alonso with 40 homers, drove in 100 plus runs. Yeah, he's not the greatest defender in the freaking world, but that's fine. He was good enough. And this smug, arrogant OCD. He looks like a guy with OCD. I'm sorry, but David Stearns couldn't offer him a contract. I don't care if Pete didn't take it. At least make him the freaking offer. Because you know what you've done, David? Let's talk about everybody who's played first base for the Mets this year. There's been Mark Vientos. There's been Brett Beatty. There's been Jorge Polanco. There's been Jared Young. The ghost of Jason Phillips, who's not even dead, probably played first base at one time or another for this team. So let's go one by one. Brett Beatty's not a first baseman. He actually plays a pretty good third base if you leave him there. Jared Young actually has played a pretty good first base, and he's been the most productive out of the group. Then there's Jorge Polanco, who has the sore Achilles thing that's been going on all year. And one day he's really good and he's close. And then we're never going to see him again. He's basically Jed Lowry at this point. Then there's Mark Vientos, who made a couple of errors tonight. 2 years ago, Mark Vientos played a pivotal role in the Mets' run to the NLCS. There's no one's going to deny that. He's a former second round pick. He's got a lot of potential. Mark Vientos sucks. He can't defend anywhere. He's not an elite third baseman. He's not a good first baseman. At this point, he's barely a DH. Yeah, he runs into some homers, this and that, but it's not consistent enough at this point. He's a perfect change of scenery guy who you actually may get something for because of how young he still is. And Pete Alonso's tearing it up in Baltimore. Now, the Orioles aren't in the playoff spot, I don't think, at the moment. I mean, Pete's not having a good year. Meanwhile, there's only one guy having a good year on the Mets, and it's Juan Soto. And we don't even know his status because he left the game last night with a back issue or a oblique or whatever the hell it is, because he's been carrying this team for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. David Stearns put together a flawed roster. David Stearns continually put out a flawed roster. Put out an old roster. What do the Mets do good? What do the Mets do well? They don't hit well. They don't hit for power. They're not a fast team. They're not an elite defensive team. You could sit there and talk about defensive run saves all you want. They're not a good defensive team. They don't pitch well. Bullpen's been pretty good for the most part. But what do the Mets do well? Nothing. They do nothing well. That's insane to me. A team with that kind of payroll that doesn't do anything well. Oh, but Michael Lindor was out. He's now back. Soto was hurt at the beginning of the year. Yeah, there's a setback. Senga was hurt for a bit. You know, there's no excuses here. And if you want to convince me they're going to go on a run like they did 2 years ago, you're out of your damn mind more than I am. And I know I'm out of my mind because I still watch this damn team on a nightly basis. And I got to watch Pete Crow Armstrong play, kill the Mets in this series. A guy who should be a Met, but nah. 6 weeks of Javi Baez. Keith Hernandez said it during the first game. That might be the worst trade in Met history. And that's saying something because the Mets never make good trades. And phrase it. Very rarely do the Mets make good trades. I don't care when, which I do care when. To have the third worst record in the National League, to be where they are in the standings, to be in a position of which they're in. Who's taking the heat? Because tonight should be the final straw. Whether it's David Stearns, Carlos Mendoza. 6 errors is not acceptable. You're not a little league team. You're the New York freaking Mets. You have no pride. You play like there's nothing to play for. You're not a team. You see, you're lucky if you're David Stearns. And I can't believe I'm saying this person was right. But the luckiest person in New York City is David Stearns. David, you got lucky over the last couple of months because we got obsessive over the next run to championship. Now, there's no Knicks to distract you. Training camp for football still a month away. And let's be honest, Met fans aren't going to turn to the Yankees. I'm not never going to do that. So that I'm not saying for David Stearns to go out and make a stupid move for Tarek Skubal. I'm not even sitting here saying fire Mendoza and bring in Alex Cora. I don't care if it's Kai Correa as the manager the rest of the year. I, I don't care if you make Soto a player manager. Hell, I don't care if you find Billy Haywood or the guy who played or Lou Brown for Major League. Find him. What we're witnessing, what we've witnessed over the last week. Remember, the vibes were good. The vibes were good. They took 2 out of 3 from the Braves at Citi Field. The vibes were immaculate. They go to Cincinnati, lose 2 of 3. They go to Philadelphia and they get romped in 2 of 3. Come on, play a Cub team that hasn't played well in a month. It's a get right series for the Cubs. They look like juggernauts. Get the Phillies again this weekend. Lord have mercy. And then next weekend, you're going to Toronto and Atlanta. The fact that I'm sitting here on June 24th, going to tell you that the season might be over before the All-Star break, that's a reflection of David Stearns. That's a reflection of Carlos Mendoza. That's a reflection of everything the Mets have done last year and a half. Let's be honest here about David Stearns. What move significantly has David Stearns made that you go, awesome? and it worked. There's one. It was Soto, and David Stearns didn't do that. Steve Cohen's checkbook did it. Everything David Stearns has touched has been bad. Go back to the trade deadline last year. Cedric Mullins and Tyler Rogers was okay. Ryan Helsley, oh that worked. I mean, Devin Williams hasn't had a real opportunity here because of how bad they are, but he's blown. He hasn't been great. Luke Weaver was his best signing of the offseason. I don't know where you go from here. Ron Darling said on the broadcast, "This is rock bottom." I feel like it's been rock bottom since the season started. There's no heart. There's no emotion. There's no togetherness. That team in 24, there was love there. They were happy. They played as a unit. We just witnessed the Knicks. They play as a unit. No matter the five guys on the floor, they were together. The Mets are a bunch of individuals who just play the game. They don't have leadership. And right now, you got to question the manager. You got to question the general manager. And for the first time in his ownership, you got to question Steve Cohen because what the hell are we watching? Why are we watching this? Why are we dealing with this? And I get it. Sometimes you have a bad year. This seems unwatchable at the moment. They're unwatchable. But there are sickos like me who will continue to watch them. This is as frustrating as it gets. I gotta be honest with you. I haven't been this mad. Nah, mad's not the word. Angry's not the word. I haven't been this disappointed in a Met team in a long time. I knew there were going to be years they sucked. I did. You always have to believe, though. But this team, it doesn't do it. And I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what happens from here on out. Obviously, we'll see what happens. Trade deadline is more than a month away. There's a thing that happens like when you're a kid and you mess up and your parent tells you, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed." That's how I've gotten with the Mets. Not angry. I have a lot of pent up frustration on them, yeah, but it's not anger. I'm disappointed. But I'm disappointed not just in the Mets. I'm disappointed in myself. Disappointed in myself because I let them make me think there's a chance for the season. Despite all the changes, they make you want to believe there's an opportunity. And let me be crystal clear on this. David Stearns has failed as the Mets general manager or president of baseball operations, whatever the hell his title is. He's failed. Does he get another crack in the offseason? I don't know. But someone's got to pay for this because this is unacceptable. And Steve Cohen, if you're watching, you were one of us at one point. You're a fan. Have you ever been this disappointed in a team? Because this, what we're witnessing right now, it ain't it, pal. Disappointed, but not surprised. They're the Mets. Hey, maybe this lights a fire under them. I don't know. I won't believe it until I see it. But at the end of the day, they're still alive in the wild card. Do I have any hope or faith that they make it? It's as close to zero as it's been in a long time. All right. That'll do it for this edition. Rifkin Rants here, Sports Insanity Network. Go to the website, sportsinsanitynetwork.com. Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles here on the YouTube page. Like, comment, subscribe. We welcome new subscribers all the time for all great content. Go to Twitter, Insanity Real. You can follow me personally there. Pondmaster Rifkin, same name on the Blue Sky. Hopefully it gets better, but who knows?